Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 3, 2025. Diane here, and I'll be reading the Sun Chronicle. It's the Attleboro, North Attleboro, Mass. Newspaper. And we'll start with the headline Rehoboth Rejects Zoning. Vote sets up battle with state over controversial housing law. Rehoboth residents have shot down a proposed zoning district to comply with the MBTA Communities Act, setting the stage for a showdown with the state. The heavy turnout of 427 residents at Tuesday's town meeting at Francis Farm voted 241 to 186 against creating the district, despite town officials' pleas to support doing so. A proposed zoning bylaw would have created a 20-acre district off Spring Street to comply with the controversial state law, which requires communities hosting or adjacent to MBTA stations to set aside zoning areas that encourage multi-family housing. Much of the proposed site in the southern end of town already has about 50 homes and is among the most densely developed area in Rehoboth. The town had received pre-approval from the state that such property would meet the law's requirements. The MBTA law has been a hot topic in many communities, with residents and officials worried about the impact of such housing on town services, traffic, budgets, community character, and quality of life. Some of the concerns and more were aired on town meeting floor. The town has a December 25 deadline to adopt the zoning or risk the loss of state grants, town officials and others pointed out several times to residents. Nothing is off the table, Selectman David Pereira said of grants, which could include hundreds of thousands of dollars in annual road money. Quote, where are we going to get it? Close quote. Robert Matern, chairman of the Conservation Commission, said his board is targeting 3 grants for programs and projects, including tackling waterway weeds. Carol Enton reminded voters the Rehoboth Land Trust depends on grants to acquire open space, quote, all of us benefit from, close quote. She also acknowledged the need for more senior and affordable housing. 8 communities had unsuccessfully filed suit against the law. Among them was Rentham, which this week approved MBTA zoning at town meeting. State officials have also warned they will file suit against communities that don't comply. Rehoboth Town Council Jay Tellerman told residents Tuesday night that, quote, there are dire consequences, close quote, to not complying with the law. Unfortunately, none of those lawsuits panned out, Pereira said. This is not going to go away. There are some bills at the state level to revise or repeal the law, but nothing is guaranteed, officials pointed out. Pereira chairs the zoning board and noted the town has worked to comply with the state law for nearly 2 years. Residents were also warned the state could choose a location for the zoning. Pereira said he was most concerned another affordable housing development under the state 40B law would come to town and be built on open space, such as one of the golf courses in town. None of us like the state coming in and telling us what to do, Pereira said. That's the spirit of Rehoboth. Many of the residents who spoke out in opposition live in the area targeted in the district. Tallerman said there are significant barriers for any high-density development, such as the need for a very expensive septic system. Despite it being highly unlikely a developer would come in and buy the earmarked property and level the homes, residents weren't convinced. One resident cautioned against, quote, opening the door, close quote, and damaging well water. Another said she had been unable to get answers to her questions at planning board meetings. Robert Baldassar, a senior citizen, contended that residents were being thrown under the bus. All we do is give the town money. I think this is a ridiculous thing to do. One resident charged, quote, the state with acting like tyrants, close quote. Rehoboth should fight this, another resident urged. I think it's important for us to stall and fight at the state level. Town moderator Bill Cute acknowledged it's a very hot button issue that arouses very strong emotions. Spring Street runs from Plain Street, Route 118, to Hornbein Road. The MBTA Act is intended to provide additional housing options and transit-oriented housing for households of all incomes, ages, and sizes. The Act requires a district to allow a minimum density of 15 units per acre and be located not more than a half mile from commuter rail station. Other matters. Voters did approve $60,000 in Community Preservation Act funds for work at the two buildings at Francis Farm. The work would entail roof replacements, other exterior repairs, and the installation of fencing for the two small structures that have been moved onto the site. The buildings are intended for a farm museum, and funding was supported by the Historical Commission. Residents also backed $65,220 for expenses in this fiscal year's budget, including salaries for the police, fire chiefs, and new highway department employee contracts. There were also some street acceptances that passed. Headline: Sawyer encourages poor to be inclusive. This is an article written by Jim Hand and Susan LaHood. Attleboro. A veteran school committee member, Diane Sawyer, who was narrowly ousted from her seat by challenger James Poor in Tuesday's election, says she wishes him well, but also asked him to consider all of the city's students when making decisions as a member of the board. Unfortunately, tonight we didn't get the results we had hoped for. We came up short by 31 votes, Sawyer said in a statement released early Wednesday morning. I could sit here and think of a million things I might have done differently, but at the end of the day, the people of Attleboro have spoken. The unofficial tally Tuesday night was 501 to 470 in favor of Poor. I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your continued support, encouragement, and belief in the work that we've done. Serving on the Attleboro School Committee for the past 12 years has truly been an honor, Sawyer said, of the people who backed her. Together, we've faced major challenges, budget shortfalls to a pandemic, anti-masking battles, and attempts at banning books. Yet, through it all, we've stayed focused on what matters most, our students and our community, she said. It was a direct reference to Poor's push in the past to impose restrictions on student access to library books that may contain sexual or homosexual content. I wish Mr. Poor the best of luck as he steps into this role. I truly hope that when making decisions, he remembers that this work is for all the children of Attleboro, Sawyer said. Our students deserve leaders who value inclusion, critical thinking, and the freedom to learn. After all, this is about the children and not politics. I may not know exactly what the future holds, but I will always be grateful for the opportunity to serve the city I love, Sawyer said. It's the first time Poor has been elected to city office. He has run unsuccessfully 5 times in the past, including for Ward 1 City Council in both 2017 and 2019, and for mayor in 2021. His win also comes just weeks after Sawyer had verbal run ins with another candidate and a police officer. In 2 separate incidents during the campaign, Sawyer sparred verbally with mayoral writing candidate John Robinson and disputed a police officer's request that she move her car. Video of the confrontations went viral on social media. Robinson has been charged by police with threatening to assault Sawyer. Poor interviewed outside the Colo Middle School pool Tuesday evening said he could not say if Sawyer's controversies cost her the election. At-large school committee members Jim Storrs was more certain about the impact of Sawyer's controversies. I think it definitely affected things, he said, adding there was a lot of talk among voters about it. Storrs credited Poor with staying out of it. He was smart about it, Storrs said. Poor's agreed. I thought that was the best course of action, he said. Poor said he expects the big challenges for the school committee for the 2-year coming term will be finances and special education. The only other contest for school committee was a 4-way race for 3 at-large seats. Incumbent Rob Geddes was the top vote getter with 3,885. Shannon Johnson was second with 3,786 votes, and Storrs third with 3,499. Newcomer Brian Amaral came in fourth and out of the running with 2,892 votes. Today we have one obituary for the Sun Chronicle, and that's the obituary of James Allen Dooley of Lakeville, Mass. James Allen Dooley of Lakeville, Mass. Passed last Friday, October 31, 2025, at the age of 67. Son of Bill and Hazel Dooley, he is survived by his 3 sisters, Kathy, Marie, and Billie Jean, his 2 sons, Billy and Justin, his 3 grandchildren, Liam, Grace, and May. Known as Jimmy Cairo, or a CB handle we're not going to share here, this man was a dreamer, curious, and kind. He wasn't one for details and proudly missed the internet entirely. This was challenging for many women employers and any governmental authority with 3 letters, all of whom he gave fits. Small children and animals, on the other hand, understood him just fine. Always up for adventure or a new project, he followed his heart. His years in trucks had him see every corner of this country and left him with many a story, which he delighted in telling. If it had wheels or tracks, he could drive it, and he spent a good chunk of his life fiddling with one machine or another. He was always proud of his two boys and his grandson, who was frequently at his side in his later years. For Jimmy, life was easy come, easy go. It's fitting then that he slipped off in his sleep, no doubt dreaming of whatever adventure was next. A celebration of life for James will be held Saturday, November 8th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Stoneforge Tavern, 90 Paramount Drive, Raynham, Mass. Resident extinguishes small fire at Attleboro homeless shelter. This is an article written by Stephen Peterson. Attleboro. A fire broke out at a fairly new homeless shelter on Pleasant Street late Tuesday night, but was quickly put out by a resident using a fire extinguisher. Firefighters and police responded about 10:15 p.m. to fire alarms at the three-story shelter at 150 Pleasant. Upon arrival, crews found the building was being evacuated. Residents outside reported a fire on the second floor. Fire Lieutenant Corey Blaze said. Firefighters located the fire in a second floor unit where it had already been put out by the resident, Blaze said. The fire filled the hallway with smoke, making it difficult for residents to get out. Crews ensured the fire was completely extinguished and confirmed that it had been contained to a small area within one unit, Blaze said. This is a high occupancy facility, and it serves as an important reminder of the value of properly placed and functioning fire extinguishers, District Chief Michael Maitland said. Early action with a fire extinguisher made all the difference. This fire could have easily spread if not for that quick response. The fire investigation unit determined the cause to be accidental, the result of an unattended burning incense, Blaze said. The building was able to be reoccupied with the exception of the unit where the fire started. No injuries were reported. The building, known as the Ascension House, which has 22 apartments for formerly homeless individuals and an 18-bed adult emergency shelter that opened last spring. Headline: Fundraiser launched for worker hit on 95. This is another article written by Stephen Peterson. Foxborough. State police were still searching Wednesday for the driver who hit and seriously injured a construction worker on Interstate 95 and then took off. Meanwhile, a fundraising effort has been launched for the victim and his family. Police and firefighters responded about 2:15 a.m. Monday to the accident on I-95 North. Police rendered first aid to the victim and applied a tourniquet to his leg to control bleeding until rescue personnel arrived, officials said. The worker was hit by a vehicle as he retrieved a sign from the beginning of a detail setup. Troopers found a passenger side mirror at the scene. Although he is expected to live, the impact of his injuries illustrates the danger of failing to drive with care in and around work zones. State Police spokesman Tim McGurk said, anyone with information about the crash is urged to call police at 508-543-8550. That number again is 508-543-8550. Meanwhile, family and friends have set up a GoFundMe campaign for the victim at GoFundMe.com. The victim was identified as David Waschinski. Headline: Franklin Council sees mayor turnover. An article by Stephen Peterson. Franklin. Following deep budget cuts, only 2 of 9 incumbent town council members were reelected in Tuesday's biennial election. A total of 6,387, or about 24.5% of the town's 26,126 registered voters cast ballots. The councilors returning are Theodore Comier Ledger, who received 3,004 votes, and Robert Del Rocco, who got 2,898 votes. They were the only ones re-elected to 2-year terms, meaning 7 of the 9 council seats will be filled by new members. Newcomer Carolyn Griffith was the top vote getter with 3,614 votes. Also elected were newcomers Michael LeBlanc, 3,397 votes, Jane Calloway Tripp, 3,293, Kenneth Ajuwo, 3,282, Jean Grella, 3,092, Stephen Malloy, 2,983, and Maxwell Morangiello, 2,953. There were 4 incumbents: Thomas Mercer, the board's longtime chairman, Glenn Jones, Deborah Pellegrini, and Patrick Sheridan were ousted. Newcomer Joseph McGann was also unsuccessful in his election bid. 3 councilors, Melanie Hamblin, Kobe Frangillo, and Brian Chandler, didn't run. The election featured a record 15 candidates for town council. There were 14 candidates in 2015 and 3 prior years. For a school committee, which has also been in the spotlight because of budget reductions, there were 8 candidates running for 7 seats. Incumbent KP Sampali was the only candidate not elected with 2,595 votes. Today in history. This is dated on November 6, 2025. Today in history, on November 6, 1860, former Illinois Congressman Abraham Lincoln of the Republican Party was elected the President of the United States as he defeated John Breckinridge, John Bell, and Stephen Douglas. In 1861, an unopposed Jefferson Davis was elected to a 6-year term as President of the Confederate States of America after serving much of the year as its provisional president. In 1888, Republican presidential candidate Benjamin Harrison won the electoral vote over incumbent Democrat Grover Cleveland, despite Cleveland gaining 90,000 more total votes. It would be the last time the popular vote winner would lose the election until 2000. 1947, Meet the Press. The long-standing television show in America made its debut on NBC. The host was the show's co-creator, Martha Roundtree. In 1977, 39 people, mostly students, were killed when the Kelly Barnes Dam in Georgia burst, sending a wall of water through Toccoa Falls College. And in 1984, President Ronald Reagan won re-election by a landslide over former Vice President Walter Mondale. The Democratic challenger won just one state, his native Minnesota. 2012, President Barack Obama won re-election, vanquishing Republican former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney with 332 electoral votes to Romney's 206. In 2022, a passenger plane crashed into Lake Victoria as it approached an airport in Tanzania, killing 17 people aboard. Today's birthdays: actor Sally Field is 79, jazz musician Arturo Sandoval is 76, author Michael Cunningham is 73, journalist author Maria Shriver is 70, author Colson Whitehead 58, actor Ethan Hawke is 55, actor Thandie Newton is 53, model actor Rebecca Romaine is 53, actor Taryn Manning 47, actor Emma Stone 37, comedian actor Bowen Yang is 35, and Olympic swimming gold medalist Bobby Fink is 26. Headline: Brockton elects first black mayor. Voters in Brockton made history on Tuesday night, electing the city's first black mayor to lead the majority-minority city. Moses Rodriguez had declared victory over Jean Bradley Deramoncourt, GBH News reported. Both are at-large members of the city council. With his apparent victory on Tuesday, Rodriguez will serve for 2 years. Rodriguez, who has roots in Cape Verde, and Deramoncourt, who came to Brockton from Haiti after that nation's earthquake in 2010, pledged to be mayors for all city residents, according to the local Enterprise paper. As of Wednesday morning, Rodriguez had won 6,680 votes to Deramoncourt's 6,420 votes, the Enterprise reported. Both emerged from September's preliminary election as the top vote getters. There is no such thing as Cape Verdeans here. There's only one community, and that community is the city of Brockton. It's great that I happen to be Cape Verdean, but we are going to be one city, Rodriguez said. I want to thank each and every one of you for helping bring sanity back to the City Hall in Brockton, Rodriguez said, according to the newspaper. And that's it for today, closing on December 3, 2025. Until next week.